What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJ Sear channel dedicated to Juventus, and I hope that, I hope the bruising and all the pain felt during that second half has worn off there, because that was a rough go. I didn't even have it in me for a rewatch. Lex, did you end up going with the rewatch?
I did. I rewatched the second half. I don't know what that says about me, but it was a tough watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you're stronger than even I was on this for a rewatch there. Skanga?
Listen, I am just, yeah, we talked about it. I am here to soothe everybody's ruffled feathers. But these two right here are just going to give the nuggets and just mess it all up. Because these two are hot. They're coming in hot, these two. Me? Not so much.
I don't even know
I
how
will
I'm going
keep
to
it
come
real
into the
today,
show,
though.
to be quite honest, because I'm at a loss for what I witnessed yesterday. I don't even think that was, to even say that's a professional side that came out that second half is almost a knock to any other professional side, let alone one that dons the stripes of Juventus. That was crazy, crazy bad. Different
Was it?
levels of bad. And today, well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Everybody that's tuning in on your audio outlets to this podcast, head over to YouTube and subscribe. Everybody that's live with us in the chat, you know we love you. What's up to everybody? Drop a like. And if you're new here, of course, subscribe to the channel, right? We got you covered on everything Juventus. Now, with the housekeeping out of the way, we get some of the news. Let's just get some of the news fired out, because there was a decent amount today. When it comes to Renato Vega, expected medicals coming tomorrow in Turin.
Boom.
Okay? So, yeah, hopefully he could score. Hopefully he can defend. Hopefully he could do absolutely everything that we are lacking at the moment in time. So,
Just
let's
use
go.
a pulse, and we're good.
Olympique Marseille is apparently interested in Nicolo Fagioli. Fagioli's agents are actually actively looking for a solution for him. The number Juventus will be happy with is 20 million euros, according
Sell.
to these reports. Okay? We'll talk obviously about Fagioli a little bit more later on. Danilo expected to get the contract termination in the next 48 to 72 hours. Not sure what the delay is anymore now that that stipulation has come out, that it was just preventing him from going to Napoli. But nonetheless, we wait and see. When it comes to certain match date, well, actually, Cambiasso first. The latest is that Juve might not be adamant about their request for 80 million euros. They could be satisfied with 60 to 65 on Cambiasso. However, that comes from the toilets at Corriere del Sport, so I would definitely take that beyond even a grain of salt. I might be slapping them with a day a little bit later. Other than that, we get some fantastic statistics around yesterday's game, all right? Like 18% possession for the opening 15 minutes of the second half. That was fantastic.
No, we're not.
Maybe we don't like that one. Maybe we like this little ditty that, where was it? Juve, through 22 matches, has 8 victories and are 16 points off the top of the table, which is the widest gap Juve have faced at this point in the 3-point era, on par with the Ferrara Zaccaroni 2009-2010 side. Thiago Motta, take a bow, sir, okay?
Just
take a
snapping
bow.
records.
Here he is, 3 points. Who wants him? Come get him. Come get him.
This is the third time I've seen this picture,
Madonna.
and I laugh the same every time. I don't know why I think of donuts, but this picture is absolutely hilarious.
Madonna mia. Come and get him, everybody. Thiago's dishing him out. Jesus. That one hurt. And then Juve has collected 37 points in the last 22 games played in the league. The Bianconeri haven't collected so little with the same number of games in Serie A since Luigi Del Neri. Another great name to put yourself next to. Not. Now, with that out of the way, my lord, okay? Oof. Achita. Just give me a minute here, okay? Achita.
Well,
Now,
yeah.
let's get to the game. Let's get through this game, get into the aftermath. The nice thing is there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot in the second half because we didn't do anything. So, Di Gregorio, McKennie, Kalulu, Gatti, Cambiaso across the back, Locatelli, Thuram. We had Yildiz, Colt Miners, Gonzalez, and Kolo Muani. Obviously, neither one of you were on the pregame show. Curious to hear your thoughts. Really, the discussion points was Colt Miners in the 10 again and Kolo Muani actually getting the start. So, what were your thoughts on it? Let's start with Lex.
I was curious to see Kolumwani in the starting 11. I thought that would be an interesting eye test for him, especially facing Napoli. So, yeah, I was curious about that move. And then Coop Miner's in the 10. I mean, you guys know how I feel about that. Just never really been a fan of it, but Motta seems to be rolling with it game in, game out. So, kind of indifferent to that now at this point. But yeah, mainly interested in the striker changeup.
Yeah. Skanga, what did you think?
Well, Lex, mainly because the guy can't speak the friggin' language yet. And we put him up there. It's like, okay, welcome to the team, kid. I was okay with it except for, and I'm a big Colt Miners fan. I think this guy will probably have the same path as Locatelli. I think it's rough start. I think he'll grow into the team. It's going to take a while. It's not good right now. I will admit that. I didn't want him to start this game. I was actually also leaning towards Dusan to start this one, but I thought the new kid played well. I'd like to get your take in the pregame. You were talking about McKennie and 27, where they were playing on the sides of defense. I don't know if you want to get to that now or post game.
I just said it's for me. This game kind of sucked that we had to use McKennie as a fullback because I thought it would have been a perfect game to actually take Cope out and let McKennie rule out Lobotka and create some havoc kind of up top and use his legs, use his energy, etc. But that didn't end up being our bane by any means. In terms of Cambiaso and McKennie, it was going to be tough sledding, I think, either way, the way it played out, because you've got Politano, who's he can be a tricky customer with Di Lorenzo on one side, and then they ended up not having Oliveira there on the left side, but Spinazzola creates problems on his own accord, and they had David Neres there. That was a tough ask for McKennie. So in the end, either way you slice it up, we would have had some issues. But Cambiaso, I think, would have got torched even more than McKennie did on a couple occasions on that right side. So I still think he did the right thing on what sides they were playing on. That was the right call. Some of the other calls I don't agree with, and again, it has to do with substitutions. We'll get into that, okay? We start off the game. 5 minutes in, this is a nice play. So we work the ball up wonderfully, get it out to the flank. Nico Gonzalez, quick touch inside to Thuram. He's running in. The hands up. Yildiz is screaming, and Thuram wastes no time. Throws this thing down along the carpet. The cut is right. Everything is money except the damn finish. I still have no idea how you don't put this in. Like, it's crazy. So obviously he's just trying to pass it in, and Merritt, he recovers. He recovers on the ground, and yeah, this is pretty bad though. I'd expect anybody in that position to bury. So this one hurt. Now, we talked about something in the green room. Besides this not going in, that's like wild, just whatnot. I actually think like it almost messed with Yildiz because I don't think he was that great after it.
He disappeared after it.
Do you think he was? Did you guys also see him kind of struggle through that first half, like after this?
Lex?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think it got to him a little bit. Because, I mean, wow, what a fantastic goal that would have been. What a way to score, especially, in Naples. So, definitely got to him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would have changed the game. I don't know if it would have changed the game. I know it would have made it 1-0.
Exactly. And who knows? Do we keep pressing for a second because it's the first half? Do we shut her down? P. Morton, Motta can't get out there and shoot for him. He can't, but I'll tell you what Motta can do and what he did in a bit. Just bear with me. Bear with me. Don't worry about Thiago there, okay? So
gotta remember this.
That one sucked. And I do think Yildiz, the reason I believe he struggled after is because one of the things that was coming up was his decision making, which usually is never a problem for him. He more often than not makes the right decision. And when he wasn't, and his touch seemed a little off, I'm like, I think he's a little rattled that he didn't give us the lead that early on such a high percentage opportunity. But nonetheless, we keep going. 19th minute, big clearance from Gatti, but it set up a volley from the top of the area, and Politano didn't miss by much. He absolutely rocked that thing. That was crazy. So some chances, kind of back and forth. 42nd minute, though, this was nice. This was nice. So McKennie is surrounded on the flank by 3 players. He somehow still slips this thing through to Cope Miners. Cambiasso, for some reason, is also on the right side while McKennie is there and whatnot. So he had just moved completely rogue. It was crazy. But Cope Miners up to Yildiz. Yildiz moves forward. Cambiasso makes an overlap. He's gone. Sent through. The cross comes in. It's cleared only as far as Yildiz. He tries to hit Cope Miners at the top of the area. And Zambo Anguissa cuts it off, but he puts the ball moving forward right into the path of Kolomuani. This was a stone cold finish. Turn and fire on the volley, wasting no time. That's how you kick things off. This was a nice goal. Really nice goal.
I thought Muani was playing well up until that point. I thought he had a lot of juice in the tank. He was running all over the place. I don't even think he knew where he was supposed to be going, but he was trying to pressure every ball he could. His hold-up play was very good. He played well in that first half.
He was playing good. He was very, very active in the first half. Now, the second half, there was some different struggles that came up, and Rahmani was getting the better of him in the duels. Like, he couldn't hold up to save his life against Rahmani, and that was a struggle that Kolo was having.
I think in the second half, he really tired out too, especially like on my rewatch. I saw like his press was gone, like in tracking back, non-existent. Like he was just really like, even getting up the field, Gatti had one where he ran the ball up and he didn't even make a run through. Like he was like spent. So I think that's why he was subbed out after.
Yeah. And the subs, we'll talk about some of the subs too as well as we get a little further. But that takes us into halftime. You're 1-0 up. You played a good game. Every time you kind of got up the pitch, you did look dangerous. Like you could maybe sting them. I was happy with the first half. 2 big chances for Juve. 5 total attempts. They were left with 4 total attempts. No big chances. That's a solid first half of football. Solid first half.
They did have, is it Anguissa, however you pronounce his name? He had another header. I think it was direct from a corner kick. He had a free header in the box. So it's not like it was a pretty, like you said, it was pretty back and forth. But I was completely satisfied how we were playing.
Yeah,
why not just
good first half?
Just keep doing that in the second half.
Please don't shut down.
No.
Oh, shutdown would have been a step up from what happened.
Yeah.
That was disgusting, this second half, okay? 49th minute.
Yeah.
This is a big stop here from Digre. He makes a wonderful, wonderful save on a header here, and that was on Lukaku. You could see just how close that was. The clearance sent out by Gatti there, but you could feel it. Like, you need to get on it now. Start getting some ball retention, some possession, because they're pushing. And this is one of the things that infuriates me. You knew what Conte was going to do. You knew 100% how Napoli was going to come out that first half. And yet again, we are the ones standing still, looking almost frozen, as if we had no idea what we were going to face. Yeah. Because we got slow, we got flat-footed, our coverage became weak, and our legs just stopped. We got a player on the ball, and nobody was moving. Nobody was trying to be an option, trying to help him, trying to support, trying to at least pick up the ball. Like I said, just get some possession retained, let alone in their half. And the numbers were staggering. They backed it. It was like 18 minutes of 15% possession, or either the other way around, 15%, whatever. It was brutal. It was brutal. But this was a big save from Di Gregorio. But ultimately, this was coming. 56 minute. They're all over us. Little pushback with us. Zero ball retention. Across to the back post. And this coverage.
This one, it was what you in the previous one with the Lukaku save. Sorry, whatever, the Lukaku miss.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. It's just people not looking over their shoulder. Gatti, even McKennie, like he just slipped right between McKennie and Gatti here. It's just
and
you
McKennie,
know he's there.
He's the one contesting it late. But like, and even we should go as far to lead off this play. You have Cambiasso out on the flank with one of the stupidest giveaways I've seen.
I was just gonna say that. Like, I was shocked. I hate like pinning a goal on a player from an earlier moment, especially when it's somebody up the field. But like, just his decision to try and thread that pass through 3 Napoli midfielders to Thuram. I'm like, what are you doing? Cycle it back. Like,
cycle it back, or you know what? Creep up that line, eat a foul, have it off a guy, take a throw in. You just don't play it nonchalant into the middle, and they literally ran it right back. The first was a big shot block by Locatelli, and then they swung it out. They kept possession. They swung it out to the right, and then threw that crossover. The lack of communication between McKennie and Gatti here is absolutely piss poor. And there you go for 1-1. But it was a shit show from the beginning. And something so simple like that, where you need to have the wherewithal, the brains, to realize what you're doing. Cambiasso just shit the bed on that one, and it was just useless. It was a useless dispossession, and it hurt us in the end with the sequence that followed. And it felt completely disconnected from what your team's been doing up until that point. This is the 56th minute. You've been under duress the entire opening of the first half.
Yes.
Brutal. So anyways, they tie it here. They go level. 67th minute. Okay, there's no defending this awful challenge. Okay.
Well,
there's nothing anybody can say that is different. It was an awful, awful challenge. But what I'm going to say is this. If your thought process was to be compact in the second half, to get tight, okay? How on earth is this your shape? And this is how you're looking before this play even gets to it. Like, Locatelli is the lone man back at the top of the 18. Kefren Thuram is at the lower side of the 18. Kalulu is almost beyond Imbangula at the bottom of the thing. Again, this guy is, I don't know where the hell he thinks he's going. Gatti, I'll give him credit. He's watching Lukaku, and he's there. But where on earth is the actual defense? Where is the actual shape? What in the hell are we doing? This is
the
a
craziest.
mess.
This is the craziest still shot I think we've had in the 4 years I've been doing this show. You have 2 midfielders as your center backs. Yeah. And your center backs should order to be seen.
Dude, it happens over and over and over, and we let in goals, and then we're all like, oh, we need time. What are you fucking talking about? We need time. We need somebody that can watch the film and be like, what are we doing over and over positionally?
What are we doing?
Wow. Anyways, shame on Loca, but you know what? Fuck, what are we doing? 2-1 there, and you know you're not coming back because we're not good enough to switch it like that. Your team's not good enough to clamp down, and I don't even know if that's an attempt to clamp down because we were so bad even in trying to clamp down. I'm at a loss for what that second half was. All I can say is it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, it's a little weird odd in the past where when we've gone down, we've seen to play better. Like Paulo always mentions it. He mentioned the pregame show whenever we're, I don't know, it's not under duress, but when we're
Adverse
when
situations, like
when yeah,
adversity.
the
Yeah.
adverse situations, we seem to pick up our game. Boy, oh boy, when we went down 2-1, we went more into the shitter.
Yeah,
It,
no, I agree. I felt more like Napoli was going to score a third or fourth goal
Yes.
than it did that Juve would score a second. And that was the
Yeah.
scariest part. And that was even from the up until the 80th minute onward. It just never felt like the guys locked in. Like nobody, there's no urgency. I mean, at the 80th minute, I was like, there's no chance we're coming back into this. Like you could just tell.
that was one of the things that just infuriated me too. You're
Yeah.
down 2-1. Where is the sense that, guys, we're losing? Like, we
Mhm.
played slow, mundane, like the passes were just nonchalant. Like, I'm like, do you guys understand you're losing right now?
I know. For me, it was Douglas Luiz pissed me off yesterday fully. Like
What?
I'm sorry, but no,
Why?
his nonchalant attitude still when we were down, like spinning around his defender, playing horizontally, lofting the ball over top. I'm like, do something, drive the ball forward, like play with some sense of urgency. Like we're losing right now. So for me, that was frustrating. And it was
It
all
was,
said in like Politano when he celebrated winning that tackle. I don't know if you remember right before he
yeah,
got subbed out. I'm like, that was just the game in summary for me. Like the way he celebrated winning that ball and just basically hitting it out for our throw in. Like it wasn't like he blocked it off the line, but he celebrated it like he scored. And like that was everything. That was why Juve
yeah.
lost that
There
game.
was some shouts for maybe just take a stab with. I know Kolomoani was tired. I do agree with you, Lex, but there were some shouts to maybe get Vlahovic in and get two strikers
Yeah.
rolling, try to do something, try to push back. But I don't
Do
think it
something.
would have mattered because we
Nope.
had no drive, none, none
Yeah.
whatsoever in
Nothing.
that second half. So we leave this one. Let's talk about just overall
Mhm.
summary. Yours, Skanga, before we get to Lex.
Well, I made some, Lex. If you're ready to go, I gotta fire up my notes here.
Okay.
Uh, Go ahead.
On like my overall summary of the
Yeah,
game.
on
Mhm.
this game, yeah.
I mean, first half, it kind of like basically this game was a summary of our season. We play like we do in the first half, and we give any team a run for their money. We play like we do in the second half, and you lose to anybody in the league. Like it's just that's basically how our season's been going. We can't seem to put together a complete 90-minute game, and I think it was truly evident yesterday. One of the most frustrating aspects of the game yesterday for me was just that lack of passion, lack of desire from the group to be proud of wearing the Juventus jersey, to fight for something. It just felt like a lot of emptiness on the field in terms of our tactics, what we were trying to accomplish, in terms of the team's mentality. I wasn't really sure what the end goal was from the group, which is concerning. And it's been concerning. I feel like it's been an ongoing theme, and that's probably the most important takeaway from the game yesterday for me. I felt that it does go top down. And Berto, I know you mentioned this a lot as well, where it starts with the coach. That's the person who spearheads the mentality of the group. And I think that we just saw how Conte won that match for his team. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's Conte's bread and butter, like playing once a week. Like I get that. And, you know, making these players that he knows the players that he wants and he gets the most out of those guys. Like even bringing in McTominay, bringing in Lukaku.
The
It's just a
difference
winning
was on
formula.
clear display.
Yeah, the difference was there. You could see a clear picture, a clear identity, a clear mentality, and that's what Conte brings. And I
Yeah.
understand that it comes with its negatives, of course, but that was why Napoli won yesterday. Juve in the second half was lost, completely lost.
These are things I never want to see associated with Juve, and they were associated all over that second half. And this isn't the first time this season, but no fight, no passion, no heart, no will. That's brutal. But you know
Mhm.
what? How can you watch that second half and not feel that? It's the honest truth. But Skanga, you're overall on this match.
Yeah, if there's one thing that brings me consolation is I know that Conte will completely burn all his bridges this summer, and then he'll get fired, and Napoli will be in 10th next year again. So these cycles they come around. So I find some consolation in that. I wouldn't have been upset with a 2-1 loss if we were hitting posts and they got a penalty shot, and
Sure.
we were putting something. I think what upsets you, like, I try and keep it positive. But there was no positives from that second half. A lot from the first half, I thought, but it just completely tanked me that second half.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing, no attempts. What I know RB put in here that, and I'm not just picking on, but I actually have a note about it. Motta's gotten his substitutes wrong all year. I'll disagree with that. I think for the first quarter of the season, half of the season, his substitutes were coming in making a difference. Not a damn one made a difference yesterday. Not one came in and changed anything about that game. Also, I didn't think the referee made himself a part of the game, which was also good. Normally, you'll get to these calls. We'll bring up like VAR should have looked at this. I thought the referee did a good job, kept his cards in his pocket. It was starting to get feisty there, maybe around the 60th minute. When did they score their second goal? Whenever that was. Just after that was getting a little feisty, I thought the ref did a good job keeping it under control. But Napoli was raising their game after they scored a second, and we did nothing.
Yeah. For me, it's quite simple. Yet again, an incomplete 90 minutes for Juventus. And this is something that is following us throughout this year with Thiago Motta's Juventus. Another incomplete 90-minute performance. And this one went as far to show you the difference of a guy that can establish mentality and a guy that I don't think can't. And mentality is a big problem at Juve. Has been a problem for several years. But I would go as far to say that that's the weakest I've seen probably in many years from a mentality perspective. That second half, that was crazy. I don't understand how you can go in at this level and not know and understand what Conte and Napoli will do being down 1-0 at home when they're chasing a Scudetto, to have your team go out there and seem absolutely shell-shocked and rocked to the point where they're like, what's going on here? What do you mean what's going on here? Do you know who the fuck you're playing and who's running that team? This was always coming. Wake up, get some fire. The other thing that drives me absolutely nuts is that this guy had the nerve. This motherfucker had the nerve, okay, to walk out there after the game and say that the second half we chose to remain compact. That was compact?
I don't know. I don't think that was compact.
Please.
I'm not sure what that was.
We had a game to recover from midweek. They had a week off. This motherfucker had the nerve to say that when on a 2-week break you drew Torino. On a 1-week break you drew Bologna. On a 2-week break you played a garbage game against Milan that ended 0-0. And on a 13-day rest you drew Empoli. So please, man, shut the fuck up and do your job.
I did not see that quote. I did not know that coming into this show.
Stop talking about their rest, their time, their period. And you know what? I'm not telling you that Fagioli is all of a sudden unplayable to the point where you want to play guys that are dead. That is a decision you are making. And I am absolutely sick of this shit that now he's taking in excuses. Fuck, please, man. You're kicking. It's either you have to play all the minutes or you're out of the project. That's all it is with this guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want
Cody Miners should have never seen a minute in the second half.
No.
Ever.
No. Off the field. And the thing with Fagioli too, and what frustrates me is also, can you imagine being a player like Fagioli on the squad? The group that he's prioritizing can't win. So why are you running them only? Like, you need to rotate your team at that point. Sorry, you need to rotate your squad and figure out what's working, because clearly the guys that you're running, it's not working. If they were on a winning streak, sure, okay, you can't criticize so much, but you can't just, render Fagioli and other guys unplayable. They haven't done anything to prove that they should or shouldn't play. Like, I'm confused.
It's not about Fagioli, like just him as an individual. It's about how you're running and operating this team. To now bitch about that is laughable to me.
Yeah.
You've kicked out Danilo before there's any support that comes in other than a young Alberto Costa, who's obviously going to be sweet because his name's Alberto, but we've never seen him fucking play. And then you've got Vega that's not even in here, but Danilo's unusable at a fullback position. Fagioli. So this guy comes from Bologna. You had a 31 million salary, and now all of a sudden it's just either no, you're in, or you're just absolutely out unusable. I'm sorry, man. You don't have the CV to be acting like that, and your system ain't shit.
Yes, that's such an important point. You know, it's funny because my dad brought this up yesterday when we were talking about the match. He's like, "You're coached by somebody with more creed, like Conte or Ranieri, or I don't even Allegri at this point, I suppose." But it's like, okay, maybe as a player you understand those decisions a bit more. But when you're someone like Motta, you're coming in like that with an iron fist essentially, like, and you're making these decisions. It's like, how are the players going to trust you on that? Like, do the players really fully like think you're all that? Like, are you that guy to make that type of decision for the squad? I don't know. I think it's interesting that you pointed that out, Berto. I agree.
He's the manager. It's his team. He has every right to make those decisions, and we have every right to disagree. But a manager has every right to pick his squad.
Yeah, but don't come out and bitch about the fact that your guys are tired when you got guys you just don't want to use them for whatever reason. That's on
Also
you,
true.
and I don't want to hear about it because Conte comes out and Conte says straight up the way it is. When you're at Inter, Milan, and Juve, it's all noise unless it's winning. You have to win. It's simple. So one guy gets it, one guy doesn't. One guy can build mentality, another guy absolutely can't. We were pussies to every 50-50 in the second half, and that's a chicken shit Juve. My simple question is this.
Yes.
End of January, what are we doing better from the start of the year? Give me one thing we're doing better.
You start. My answer is simple.
What are we doing better?
Man, I don't know, because I feel like we've regressed. I remember that UCL game when we had that fight to come back. Even the Inter game, we came back and tied. I feel like we haven't seen that Juve in a long time. So I would say that we regressed, and especially in terms of mentality. I don't know what to say we've done better now.
I do. There's one thing. There is one thing we've done better. Our goalkeeper is showing what he can do. There was a long stretch there where people were like, this guy's a bum. What's he doing? He is a very good goalkeeper.
Yes.
Now that he has to face some shots, people had some doubts about that kid. He's going to be all right.
Dude,
yeah.
I can't understand Cope Miners playing a full game yesterday. He was a passenger. It's shit like this that is going to, for me, hang Motta. Like, are you willing to die on this hill, Motta? Like, seriously? You haven't even come close to get the best out of this guy whatsoever. But this thing to keep going with makes his words empty. I have next to nothing for faith in this guy. And again, Motta has full faith. Well, does he? Because the latest reports are that if Juve fails to reach Champions League, they're going to continue with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your gut reaction to that, Skaga?
Well, a month ago, I sat right here talking to this mic saying you have to give Giuntoli 2-3 years to build his team. It's only fair. And you have to let him bring his manager in. And you have to give the manager time to get his players, build his system. That's what I said back then. I'm starting to waver a little bit. You're a complete wobble. You're like a motorbike at 100 miles an hour wobbling. Me, I'm still trying to say, I'm holding out hope that he's going to figure it out. But I'm starting to crack. Starting to crack a little bit.
Hope has nothing to do with that. We're talking about top four. We're talking about Champions League. I'm sorry. There's no wavering. There's no wobble. There's no nothing. You don't make that, you don't deserve to get another year. Period.
If he doesn't make Champions League, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of him. But I would understand why they'd want to keep him. But I think you could.
I will go as far to say this. I will go as far to say this, everybody.
Yeah.
If he even qualifies, which he should, because that's fucking pathetic if he can't. But even qualifying, I've seen enough to make me even think about alternatives in the offseason. I'm serious. Even if he gets in there, I don't like a lot of the things I'm seeing from him. And I don't think that there's anything developed. There's nothing that I've seen that I feel like we can't get from another coach. There's nothing that's leaving me feeling like, no, we've got to continue with this guy. I don't get that vibe at all. And that's just me. Even if we make it, I'm thinking about potential alternatives. That's just me. Lex, where are you at on this whole, he's got full faith even if he doesn't qualify?
Yeah, same thing. A couple weeks ago, like I had said, okay, let's see how January goes. We had that really tough like string of games. I think at this point now, come to the end of the month, I'm agreeing with you, Berto, in the sense where it's do or die. We need to make Champions League. I think top four is just something that needs to happen. There's no other way around it, especially considering the competition for that fourth spot is who Lazio, Fiorentina, Bologna. Like Milan, forget about Milan. Like they're worse than us right now in this situation. But considering that's the competition, like you have to. Like there's just no excusing it if we fail to make top four, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only thing saved us is that the people around us at fourth are just as bad.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of similarities to year one of Allegri 2.0, where we sat here and said, this guy could honestly be fired right now on the spot with those weak numbers that he had, same terrible records that we're being associated with or close to, not far off. I feel all the same things. And the play's arguably not even that much better. But the thing is, that guy got a benefit of a doubt because of his CV, I feel. And that gave him like a little bit more to go on because you're like, well, you earned that little bit of trust. I don't have that trust in Motta because he doesn't have a CV. And whether that's right or wrong, that's just me being honest with all of you, how I feel and how I see it. I think if you had something that was more established, that had more success, that had those opportunities, I would be a little bit more lenient. I'd have more leash, but without that also, now he comes off arrogant and he comes off like way over the top. And I think some of the decisions actually hurt the group more than they benefit them. That's why I'm having a real like trust problem with Thiago Motta.
So, and that's where I'm like, you have to give him the side of me that says you have to give him time because Allegri had an established team essentially. Motta has brand new team, brand new club, brand new, he's trying to implement his system into a new, it's all new. So there is still a part of me that says, I can see why they would give him another year. We're not the type of club that fires coaches every year. Well, we were there for a stretch and it didn't really work out.
This guy though,
we need some sort of stability. I am all for stability.
Which I agree with.
So even your goalkeeper, even Di Gregorio comes out with some words that kind of start to show that there's maybe doubt in what's happening. Because he says when you go ahead in several games, several times, and you let yourself recover, you have to analyze and you have to understand why this keeps happening. It's difficult to give an explanation. I don't think it's just a mental aspect. Maybe we lower ourselves a bit too much and we become too cautious. So this is a combination of him talking about mindset and play style, etc. But it reeks of doubt.
Yeah.
It reeks of doubt. And this is one of the guys that he's very vocal in the tunnel coming out before games and everything. But it's doubt that I think we're starting to see on the pitch. And that's a difficult spot. Mm-hmm. If this is an indication of maybe how some of the players feel, that's a difficult. So that's something that several of these past managers have also battled. When shit goes sideways, it is tough to dig yourself out of a hole. In pro sports in general, it's difficult for coaches, right?
Yep.
So he might be falling into one of these pits that is very, very difficult because can we say confidently that the belief is there in the group? Are you getting the sense that there's a lot of belief in the group?
It doesn't look like it.
I mean, speaking about the project and the whole question about whether or not to give Motta time, I think, Berto, like you and I speak about a lot too, it has to do with what you're seeing and what's being built in the project at the foundation. If I'm not seeing those core values, especially core values that are associated with Juve, if I'm not seeing that fight mentality, winning desire, and no matter how things look tactically, I think that those core values, those intangibles, are most important for building the foundation of a project. And if those aren't there, is that really a strong foundation to go off of for the project? I don't know. Will it crumble eventually? Most likely. And this is kind of what the numbers are showing. I feel like the stats have been reflecting that.
That's put brilliantly, because it's literally how I feel. That's so well put, because where's the foundation? Like, if we're going out, but you're fighting, you're not giving up 50-50s left, right, and center, where some guys were actually scared to get stuck in a couple times yesterday. And I'm like, what are we doing? If you have that fight, you have that drive, you see that passion consistently, which is just bare minimum, then you get a little bit more leeway, because you're like, you know what? These guys are putting their all into it. Like, and if you could see some signs consistently that, like, okay, you know what? This is building up. It's not perfect, but okay. I can see some. I don't see anything. I see flashes here and there that I don't think have any substance to them. I think they're one-offs. I don't think there's, and I think it shows because we've only strung 2 wins back-to-back 3 times this year total. Yeah. So I don't think there is any substance to the flashes that we see.
I think they were trying to build, like, you have Locatelli and Gatti. Maybe our core players just aren't good enough. Maybe 27 isn't who we thought he was. Maybe Gatti isn't who we thought he was. So it can be argued. I'm not going to argue it here because you two are smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. Maybe our core players just aren't good enough. Maybe our quality isn't there. Maybe Motta is doing what he can with the quality that he has. But then people argue, well, we bought all these players this summer. But the foundation part was a great point.
And then, even to that degree, maybe they aren't as high as we rate them. But to get better than what we're seeing and at least establish just a solid foundation, probably good enough for that. And again, the points that we have dropped, I see a lot of chat about Bremer. Obviously, Bremer is going to have an impact on the season. But if your system is going to be that dependent on one guy, then your system ain't worth a shit. And that's just the honest truth. That's the honest truth. Because here's the thing. While you look at the games that we have actually dropped points, 17 points lost from winning position, well, shit, that tells you 2 stories. It tells you, number one, that, holy shit, you're choking a lot. But it also tells you you've got into an advantage on a lot of occasions to the tune of 17 points. That means you've actually gained the upper hand
you're
that
doing
many
something
times.
Right.
So where's the disconnect? For me, a lot of it still boils down to Motta, because if you don't have a team that time and time again, and now you've got Di Gregorio coming out and saying it, that can't clamp down, can't shut down shop, but you continue to go to that. I'm starting to ask questions of you, because I feel the team would be better to fight fire with fire. Stop, just knock it out. You play the same game, whether the score's 2-0, 1-0, 0-0, it doesn't matter. Play the same game and simplify it for your players, because they are obviously not to the degree to shift to 4, come back down to first, cruise. No, now we got to pick it up again, because they're not at that level. They're not there.
We haven't done that all year. We've been able to kick it up a gear, but then once we go back down, it's like we can go up, right? We've gotten better in games, but once we fall off that cliff, we very rarely brought it back again. Rarely.
Yeah.
And there's so much to this. There's so many levels to this. Like, how do you get that fight? How do you get that drive? Well, if you're not utilizing certain guys on the roster. You've got guys that are tired, but you're going to continue to rather go with that even over a set of fresh legs. How's that going to keep everything on the level? Like, I see serious favoritism to a couple guys, and I'm not so sure I agree with it. So Motta for me is definitely on thin ice. Right now, today, fire? No. Because nothing is lost as far as the objective, but the objective we're fighting for is not an achievement. It's a bare minimum objective. And that's why for me personally, I would look to alternatives if our game doesn't change drastically in the next few months. I'm fine looking at alternatives, but man, he's got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
And you bring up a great point about the players themselves as well. And I feel like in the past, like I was especially lenient on a lot of the players, considering how I felt about the way our system was set up and whatnot. But I think that it is also important to look at the players that we have and consider like who are the pillars of this team. Like I ask you guys, I open up that question, like which players for you are the pillars of this squad if you had to list 3, let's say?
Bremer, hands down, is the first name on that list.
Yep.
For me, I would have listed my pillars as Bremer, Locatelli, Yildiz, and Cambiaso. And to be honest, right now, I'm having doubts in a couple.
I was going to say same. I think that Cambiaso's drop-off has really impacted the group as well. That's something to point out.
I think the only 2 players that you can call, well, 3. I think our keeper is one. But I think Locatelli and Tudam are the only 2 that are really going out there, game in and game out. Maybe, I think everybody had a bad game yesterday. But game in and game out, those 2 guys are going out and playing their balls off.
And now,
other than that, consistently.
I'm at the point, and even when I listed that pillar, that's my same pillar. If you guys go way back to when we were originally having discussion, that's my same group of 4. And even still, when these rumors popped up about Cambiaso, I said if it's 80 million, I'm selling. Because of where this team's at. And because I continue in more frustrations that go even beyond this coach and these players. My tweet is very simple. The second that I heard that news that even if we don't qualify for Champions League, I said, bring me somebody to spearhead this actual thing that actually has standards. Because we're en route to be Man United, the Italian Man United. Seriously.
It's scary. Yeah.
We are heading down that road. I could see it a mile away. And it's a huge fear because it would be beyond a damn shame. But seriously, if it starts with shit like this, and it's becoming this team that is that's why I said last time, Tony, when we had that talk about the financials, get that out of our mindsets, all this garbage, so that we can actually truly see what the ambition is behind this club. And if it has anything related to our history, our traditions, and who we actually are.
And something I just thought about while we're going off on pillars, you're bringing in players on loans, and these players are coming in this locker room, and I bet some of them are looking around, allegedly, I don't know, we don't know, we're not in the locker room. Some of them are probably looking around going, who's the leader around here? Like, what did I walk into? Do I want to stay here? I know some of the loans now aren't going to be, they're just dry loans, and we'll probably let go of them in the summer. They're just here to help out. But, like Kalulu, right? Great player. I think we have the first right to purchase, but what's stopping a player like that or Conceição from saying, you want to know something? Don't buy me out. I'm going to go back to my other team. If things start heading in the wrong direction, these players, what's keeping them here?
Yeah, it's true.
I think it's tough when you send guys that are deemed leaders away in a certain manner too, because what does that say for the guys that aren't anywhere near their status? They're not going to have. the second a team comes calling, they get better pay and whatnot. What's the ties to us if we treat certain people like shit?
Yeah, and when some people are going to like this one, but Motta has said that Dusan's leader. That's his words. But you bench him 2 games in a row. Now I've sat here, I've spoken this mic, I've put on the Matrix as well that I think Nico's earned his spot over Dusan over these past couple of games, so people just don't freak out. But I'm saying you call him a leader, but you don't start him. You give him 8 minutes at the end of the game. It's just to your point with the Danilo thing, and in that defense, Dusan is not Giuntoli's guy. It's not Motta's guy. So I think all the signs are pointing to him being out in the summer anyways. But
you guys remember who Del Piero named as a leader? He only gave one name, Del Piero.
Was it Jonas?
Danilo.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Anyway, I think Motta's got to be careful about talking to 2 sides of his mouth. You can't call a guy a leader and then bench him 2 games in a row.
Yesterday's postgame was pathetic. Yesterday's postgame was actually 1,000% pathetic.
No, Anthony, you're right too, because this is something that, like I said, maybe it strikes a personal chord with me, having been in a similar situation with, a coach in terms of how they're running their squad in a similar way to how Motta's doing. And these like mind games for the player, like your coach says in a presser that you're a leader, but then he benches you, so he's not really valuing your role on the pitch. You can say what you want, but it's really difficult to be a captain if you're being benched. And that's also true about Danilo. You really lose respect and authority that you have, especially to your other teammates. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, I think that it definitely happens. So someone else pointed as well in the comments that Motta at the beginning mentioned that people play based on meritocracy. And I feel like that just hasn't been true over the course of the season. So I agree with that as well. It's something I was going to bring up too. And I just think that, like I said, maybe it's personal for me because I've been a player in a similar situation, but it's extremely difficult. And overall, that really impacts the trust that players have with the coach. Like, I think it's something that can't be understated.
At any level.
Yeah.
As you're saying.
Yeah. Listen, while I'm not just fucking this raging bull, always pissed off or whatever, okay? Yes, I can still see things. Okay, not far off. But listen, I can see things. I can see a lot of things and just break things down. And I want to ask a question here.
Mm-hmm.
One part of me that feels a little bit of sympathy for the situation is that how difficult these contract scenarios and situations have been, and I wonder how big a detriment that's been to the seasons as they've unfolded, because you have this situation last year where they're obviously, we called it a mile away. You don't collapse like that without shit hitting the fan behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Dove Rocky scenario and Coppa Italia, like, that didn't just happen there on the spot. That's a build-up. That's an accumulation of shit, right? So anyways, there's that. This season, there's Dusan Vlahovic, in which you've had to rely on as your only striker for the brunt of the season. He's on a contract scenario we saw a mile away. If a guy's checked out, why? Like, what's stopping a guy from being checked out? If I'm in that position, it's very difficult. We could all sit here and say, you have to be a professional, you have to do your job, etc. But maybe he wants to stay and the team just has zero drive to keeping him and anything. All I'm saying is, right or wrong, I'm not arguing whether he should stay or shouldn't stay. I'm just saying you could see a situation like that unfolding and creating a negative in the group. That's all I'm saying.
And really, when it comes to contracts, Dusan's is the only one that sticks out. Page 70 of the page 70 of the financial report. It's on the Juventus website for 23-24. Go and look at it. His number sticks out. It is like, man, they're going to want to get that one off the books.
Then you get to a guy like McKennie. pushed out year in, year out. He ends up being, this big utility that comes up clutch for us. And you know what? That could have a negative impact too, because he could feel like, I've never shown respect by this club. What the fuck? And we're shitting our pants in games, and I maybe don't have, there's a lot of layers to this that are very, very difficult. And one comment that I saw that stuck out was Gugino Eddie, and I don't know if he's in here today or whatnot, but he said yesterday, he said, this is why I said going too hard in the Mercado previously would actually hurt us more than if they took it lighter on the amount of work they tried to do and kept more of the team and gradually did this build. It's an interesting way to look at it. But I think a lot of the contracts and the situations we were in dictated why they pushed so hard.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the list of players going out, players going in, but it was turnover, but it was work that had to be done. We had 2 midfielders on the roster. Like, we had to go out and get midfielders. So, but it is a fair point. Like that, it was a lot of turnover in the summer.
I just think it's not so cut and dry as here's your group, make them play, all is well. Like, there's a lot of stories and there's a lot of baggage over these shitty years that are carrying over. Yeah. Dusan Vlahovic, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere and he gets fed opportunities and he does great. Like, I would not be surprised at all, because one thing that's constant, we create next to fuck all with this team currently. I don't give a shit who your forward is.
Yeah, is Nico on some goal scoring run right now? But he's not a striker. Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry.
And Nees, I see it in here. You've been asking a lot. What were my thoughts on Kolo Muani? I thought Kolo Muani had a great first half. Second half, like Lex said, probably gassed out a bit, but I actually enjoyed him. I think he was good, and I think I like how he brings an overall. But again, this is Motta now, getting someone with different traits, different abilities. Enough is enough. Like, it's end of January. Let's start creating. I want to see it pay dividends. Otherwise, I'm not chasing players for you in the summer.
Yeah. I don't think we have to chase players in the summer. Go ahead. Sorry, Lex.
I think he said that's okay. I think all 8 attackers were available to him yesterday. I think I saw a report that said that everybody was available. So, like, no more, injury excuses or this is not the right guy. I know Kolo Muani just arrived, to be fair.
Cambiasso was a pretty bad showing yesterday, hey?
Yeah. Do we have a man of the match?
I don't have a man of the match. I really don't. I could tell you it ain't Thiago. I'll tell you that much. If you had to pick one, who was yours?
Again, for what he's been asked to, I thought McKennie played okay yesterday. I thought if you forced a trophy into my hand to give it to a player, I'd give it to McKennie again. He's our Swiss Army knife out there. So,
all right.
Or maybe Di Gregorio, poor guy. I'd give it to the keeper. Yeah. He did what he could.
I think Di Gregorio. I think there's a shout out in the comments, but McKennie was also one of my other picks. So I agree with you for the two of them. Yeah, it's hard. I think Di Gregorio made an awesome save, like to keep us alive. And there was a nice warning that the team didn't pick up on because they scored similarly later on. But not long after, yeah, that would be my pick for sure.
The highest official rating went to Nico Gonzalez at 7. Kolo Muani was just behind him at 6.9. Kenny got 6.5. We don't usually go by these anyways.
Yeah.
It would be Kolo Muani, D-Gray, or even Kefren Turam for me.
Okay.
Turam, should have got an assist in 5 minutes in that game with that great feed over to Yildiz. I think Turam's... He's doing a good job. I think we're so scattered positionally that when these guys falter, it looks so bad on them. And Locatelli was a victim of that too, even though it was a just brutal decision. We got to really straighten up the fundamentals, and that's the part that infuriates me and scares me if we're talking fundamentals at the end of January. So
Can we look ahead to Benfica on Wednesday? Are we ready to do that? What line do we want to put there? Or do you have more in the news?
Benfica.
See, I told you these two were going to go off.
Benfica. Well, with our outstanding record against Benfica,
you thought a record against Napoli was bad. A record against Benfica.
A Di Maria goal is arriving. That's all I know.
Oh, Lex, why did you put that in the universe? Why did you do that?
Yeah, you can pretty much book that one for fuck's sakes.
Like, you already know what's happening.
That game's at home, right? Yes, I think it's at home.
Our track record with Benfica,
doesn't matter though.
And it is what it is. This team's going to be heading for the playoffs. I don't know what Juve's showing up on a game-to-game basis. I really don't anymore. Like, we talk about moments. We talk about matches. We talk about going in, what the mindset should be, how you should approach it. And I always feel like there's a disconnect. I feel this team's got zero emotion, zero attitude. I feel like we're mindless, possession-based robots. Seriously. Like, I'm not getting any coach's influence or attitude coming from him other than this fucking way he sees the game needs to be played and nothing else. And I don't think it's a surprise. I don't think it's a coincidence that this team fails moment after moment after moment in game, because I think it's so based down to X's and O's that they still can't even get it right. And sometimes attitude, aggression, and emotion will pick up the difference.
Yeah, up until yesterday, we were dropping points. You could look at moments of games where we just shut off. Okay, we weren't scoring a lot of goals, but giving up goals were just mind lapses, just moments. Yesterday's moment was 45 minutes in the second half. It's just completely shut. And we haven't seen that a lot.
Excuse me.
We might have seen it in spurts, right? Shutting off. That was the worst half, I would say, in a couple of years. Like, it was bad yesterday.
Imagine a team that's scared to go up 1-0. We should tell our team to just don't score until the 80th. Okay? You can hang on for 10 minutes. Go for the goal in the 80th. Just possess the ball for fucking 80% up until that.
I will say that's our first loss since going up 1-0 in Serie A. I'm just saying. We've drawn a lot of games.
We probably should have got more losses too.
Venezia was one of them.
Our play wasn't that great. We had to come back a couple times against some shit teams too. But you're right.
Venezia was.
I mean, it is it. But Benfica, hey, yeah.
Champions League's a different beast, though. You go down 1-0 in Champions League, you better pick it up, or else you're going to go down 3-4.
Do we have an early prediction?
Yes, 3-1 win for us.
We're Benfica's at home.
Yep. I'm putting positivity in the universe. 3-1 win. I don't think their current streak is very good. I think they're on a bit of a schneid.
Juve's favored on the odds currently.
Because Benfica's not. Again, yes, it's fucking prime Real Madrid that's coming out. But in their current, I looked briefly yesterday. I think they're on a bit of a schneid, but yeah, there are kryptonite for some. They are internet.
Are we gonna get first half Juve or second half Juve? If we get second half Juve, it's a blowout. If we get first half Juve, it's gonna be a tight, good game.
Okay, so for Wednesday, do you start? I know your answer already. You putz nuts. Do you start Alberto at the back? Do you start Koulibaly up top?
Alberto can't because it's not knockouts yet.
Oh yeah, shit. God damn.
I know you guys all want me in there. Fuck, I'll deliver, but you gotta wait. I
still see Coop starting though.
So those guys can't. Oh yeah, Cope will be fucking glued, and if he walks or it was infuriating to me yesterday just walking the pitch. Arms up. Do a list, do a lat. Dude, move your fucking legs, have an impact. It's
Is he juggling out there?
But
I miss McKennie in there in the midfield. I know Alberto, you pointed that out. putting McKennie like on Lobotka, which is I think would have been a great move. I just miss McKennie closer to the box. I miss him in the midfield. I miss his work rate. Personally, I am a McKennie fan, but I miss him there. So I don't know. Maybe I would start him there. Yeah. I'm putting him in.
We got some Storm the Barns though. Let's fire away. There's a lot in here. Let's go through it. Conte took Motta to school. I understand that Motta is a young coach and they're at a different level in their experience, but this is absolutely unacceptable from Motta. Hard to disagree. I can't really disagree whatsoever. That was something else to watch that. Swarit's asking us early thoughts going into Benfica. Well, we kind of said nervous about the history behind this fixture and the Benfica we always seem to get, but Ant does have a point. The Champions League games are a little bit different, favor us in terms of open play, so let's see. Hopefully we can.
The problem with Wednesday is we don't need a win. That's a problem.
So mentality, yeah, I get that. We have the firepower to be dangerous in these types of games though, so like we could strike easily for a couple. Let's see. Mitch coming in here. I am afraid after this season so far that we again will have a summer where we turn all around and face another build-up year. What do you think?
Disagree. I think we did a lot of the rebuild last summer, and this summer is just going to be, whether it's a new manager as well, I don't know, but I think in terms of the squad, it's just going to be center back, full back, maybe a midfielder, maybe a striker. We only have to put in a couple pieces. I think the overhaul was last summer. If you look at the financials, they're pretty much set for 3-4 years, maybe a couple small sales. But financially, when you look at the financials, this team won't make a lot of big moves in the summer. Yeah. They'll make a big sale. They'll make Duson's going to get sold. Mm-hmm. But bringing players in, I think it's going to be a pretty light, not like Weah light. That was a light summer. A little bit heavier than just buying Weah.
Yeah. I don't see it. Spending 168 last summer, I can't see a big shakeup. Might still be a healthy one though. Depending on what their thoughts are on some of these guys that came in and if moves are available. Like all these guys where all the speculation is falling, like Douglas Luiz, what do they actually think about him? We don't know. You're just feeding off media reports and everything, but we don't know where they actually stand on him. Would they say goodbye if they were offered a reset? Probably. I don't know. Maybe not. So it's tough to really say. I think it's going to depend on the circumstances, but you're probably going to see a decent amount of turnover because we still have negative 199 to chew into, so we're going to look for capital. We are going to be selling. If an offer comes in from Cambiasso, I expect them to sell to take all that capital and, like I said, hopefully get to a point where you wipe out that deficit and you can actually work with everything that's in front of you and ahead of you. Get rid of this dark cloud. And then let's move from there. Vlahovic is going to be moving. So there's going to be a good amount of moves.
I'd be shocked if it's 6 new players. 4, 5, 6 is a lot. 6 is a big turnover. We did what did we do last summer? 10? It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if 6 is, and see, this is why I say, I don't know if it's that far out. We still need center back depth. So you're going to be getting people in. The midfielders could see some turnover. You're going to have to replace because you want a healthy amount of bodies. So say we do cut loose Luiz, say Fagioli's gone, you're going to have to fill those spots. All of a sudden, that's 4 guys right there. Duchan's going to go. You're going to replace, get a strike.
You need 2 strikers because...
So 6 isn't that crazy.
Maybe, yeah.
It's not that crazy. So we just gotta see. There's a lot going on. A lot of futures in question. Pierre, does shitting the bed after taking the lead stem from tactical instructions, a lack of trust between the players, or a cultural shift within the squad that prioritizes caution over dominance? Wow.
Great question.
basically asking us what the fuck is going on and why is this happening repeatedly. So I wish
yeah.
it could honestly be everything.
Yeah.
I don't know about lack of trust between players, though. Maybe lack of chemistry between players. I don't think there's maybe that's what he means, like lack of chemistry.
I love the guy.
I think it's all three.
Gatti. But it fucking infuriates me how quick he is to shit on other players after a goal goes in. Like, it's fucking infuriating, man.
He was not happy as soon as Locatelli gave up that PK. It's like, we know you're pissed. Don't show it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just...
It's point.
Fucking ridiculous for a guy that stands next to Di Gregorio half the fucking time defending, acting as a second keep. Like, I'm over it, dude. I'm over it. Smarten the fuck up. Pick people up. Don't put them down. You're not good enough. You're not good enough to be that guy. Prick.
Yeah, sometimes you need to pick people up, Berto.
Yeah, on my back, physically, no problem. Put me on the pitch. Fuck, I'll carry this team. I would have slapped so many around and been like, guys, wake up. Fucking Napoli here. Please tell me he's getting sacked soon. We fired Allegri for why would we not fire Motta? Because right now, and here's the thing, on his 3-year deal, it's not that much financially. We're not crippled if we do cut the cord. And this is a part of it, but part of me feels like, you know what, maybe you got what you pay for when it comes to things, and maybe that's not the position to cheap out in a situation we're at. There's a lot of mixed feelings, but firing him right now, I don't like any of the options. And I continuously see Igor Tudor thrown out there, but I'm sorry, like, I don't think it's to the point. Like I said, as long as the objectives, like the bare minimum objective, is still in play, finish the year out and then do it with calm heads. If you can get to a point where you can actually sit down and rationalize your decision and not fucking fast forward and take the next freaking what's his name, Rudy, whatever the fuck his name is, that shithead that went to Napoli. Napoli went
Rudy
through 4
Garcia?
coach. Yeah, like, let's not rush into anything. We could still hit our bare minimum this year. Like, let him finish the year out and then act accordingly, whether it be to remain, whether it be to go. For me, so far, you know where I'm at. I think he's on thin ice. That's just me.
Appreciate the question. Did we really fire Allegri for a lot less? Like,
I was just going to say that.
It was 3 years.
But
like,
here's my thing.
Time. He ran his course.
But here's my thing. He shouldn't. For me, the reason I act the same here, and I think Motta's getting a lot of defense, is you can't look at it as time. Because a lot of people are like, well, he's only been here for 6 months, whatever. It doesn't matter, because you're in a result-based industry.
True.
Period. 6 months is a long time in the world of football, because your fucking job is to deliver certain objectives. If they come into question or jeopardy, even in the first month, you could be out. For me, Max shouldn't have made it arguably past year 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
2 wrongs don't make a right.
The way I look at it is, and I think a lot of the younger people might not understand this, but because I've been around a lot longer, when you look at the history of a lot longer. When you look at the history of Juventus, and maybe this is why I tend to let things, I brush off a lot of things. In the history of Juventus, there's ups and downs. This is just kind of one of those down periods. Like, I know, like, long term, I know a lot of people can't look in the future, or, we'll be fine. Like, we will be fine. It might take a while to get there. We have to show some patience. I get everyone's frustrated right now. I'm not telling you not to be frustrated, but eventually the right decisions will be made, and maybe Motta is the right decision, maybe he isn't. But long term, don't worry, everybody. Juventus will be fine.
I think you get me somebody at the top to spirit things, because even back in the day, if we talk about history, We had coaches that accomplished more that were let go because the standards were so high.
Fair.
And it's just, like I said, it's one of these tough things where you're trying to, it's shitty too. We just didn't celebrate, but we remembered the one and only Gianni Agnelli a few days ago because it was his passing in 2003 at the age of 81. But that guy, like, you talk about standards. You talk about everybody down the line knowing what their job was, what the priorities were. Do you remember all the stories about players getting phone calls from him? He would call them like the night before, be like, hey, what are you doing? Yeah, big game tomorrow. Big one tomorrow. Make sure you go to bed. Make sure you go to bed at this time. Like, get some rest. Hey, what are you eating tonight for dinner? Like, this guy, it kills me to hear stuff like that because I guarantee you it's nowhere like that. But the guy, like, if you were a player and you got a call from friggin' Gianni Agnelli and he's asking you, like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Like, you make sure you
better have the right answer.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Talk about hands-on. But, like, now, it's funny to me that yesterday we see tweets about Scanavino and Ferraro and, like, where are these guys? Are they just temps? Did it take you this long to figure out that these guys were temps?
We said that 3 years ago.
Yeah, like, I'm like, shocking that it took you this long to realize these guys are Muppets. They mean nothing to establish DNA or anything. But my whole thing about Gianni Agnelli is that we need to rediscover, like, who the fuck we are and what we're about. I don't want to become this plastic team that only gives a shit about meeting certain financial criteria season to season. Like, I want the team to keep its ambitions and respect its traditions. That's all.
Yeah. I agree completely. It's less to do with the coaches, I guess, who are turning over, and more to do with, it goes top down. Who's establishing this project at the top? Sporting director, owner, etc. Right? Like, I think that just plays a role that truly sets the standard and the philosophy of the club and of the team. So I think we need to do some management up there, make some changes.
Yeah, I don't think this might not be popular,
stability.
I think Giuntoli is the one to bring the stability. I still have full faith in that guy. He is the one. Maybe if I'm wavering on Motta, Giuntoli is the guy I still have full faith in. I'm not going to waver there for a couple of years. But above him, to your point, is where
there's
the
breakdown.
Culture comes down. Yes.
Big breakdown. Yeah. We want stability, but I'm not afraid of a team cycling through 3-4 guys to get because then it shows me they know what they want. So while it looks shaky, like we're freewheeling, we're just firing guys, where you got this carousel, but it also to some degree shows that you know what your standard is, you know what you're after, and you're not going to stop until you find it. So it depends really how people choose to look at those types of situations. Mm-hmm. And again, I just stress, keep the examples level. Comparing coaches that needed time to coaches in the Premier League that had ridiculous sums of revenue that they can afford to pay players a shit ton of salary and keep them around even if they're not in Champions League and stuff doesn't really apply to us. Look at Napoli, for instance, more of a situation closer to home. Went through how many coaches before they said, you know what, fuck it, we have to spend the money, and they went out and got Conte, right? Milan, results not far off of us this season. And by the way, sitting in a top 8 spot currently in Champions League, they fired their coach because their results are unacceptable. We're not far ahead of them in league, and we're behind them in Champions League. It's perspective. It's just how everybody chooses to look at things, right? That's all. In keeping with this, we got time for a few more. Is it time to change a coach right away before the end of the season, or should we have patience, wait till the end of the season? Lex, you've kind of been starting to let him finish the season. What do you think?
Lex?
I mean, Yeah, I think right now, unless things slide more,
Yeah.
so I would say at this moment in time, change end of the season, if it's going to be
Mhm.
a change
Yeah.
But
at
what
this
does
moment in
slide
time.
more mean? What does slide more mean?
Right now, it's not
Down the
catastrophic.
table.
Slide down the table.
Do
Okay.
you
Yeah.
guys see the Cambiaso move going down in the last week of January?
If it's 65 million, I'll drive that son of a bitch myself across the English Channel. What are we talking about?
I I don't think it's gonna happen in January.
Hmm. There's not enough. There's not enough smoke to there for there to be fire there. There was like reports, but
Yesterday,
there's
Nico Skira came out and said, like, hey, the next few hours, he left a big matzo ball out there because he's like, in the next few hours, an offer could arrive for Cambiaso. Well, nothing came. So, Nico, I'm
yeah.
keeping tabs on you, buddy.
Mirko said there was. I think he was talking about there being no contacts yet. It's there's not enough. There's not enough churning there for it to be actual for it to actually come to fruition. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you sell that son of a bitch.
My main issue is Motta didn't try anything new. That is one of the frustrations many
I
fans
agree.
has. What are we trying?
Mhm.
Add Zich on, bring Alberto on, do something different, anything different. Doris the lunch lady. Oh yeah, or Toto.
You leave Doris out of this. Oh, by the way, RB, you mentioned earlier who you got your membership from. It was from Mitch. I believe Mitch gifted you the membership
Mitch. Yeah,
yesterday.
Mitch is a beauty. Mitch is a beauty, especially in the private chat there. He's fantastic. After the coaching masterclass on the field and likely inside the locker room, do we have to accept that Motta will be keep on learning with us and we may have to wait 2 to 3 years to see results? Well, you guys know my answer. It was pretty heated. I'm not waiting 2 to 3 years when I see shit like this in 6, 7 months. No, thank you. I'm not waiting 2, 3 years. I don't think Juve needs to have a coach. Remember when Pirlo was hired? I love the guy, but I'm like, why are we giving a guy a first gig? Do you guys think that maybe Juve needs to just look at established coaches in general? Period. Because of what our expectations are.
I, maybe,
Maybe, right? Like I started
maybe
thinking
it's
about
like
this a lot lately too, and I'm like, maybe we're just not the club that can offer an up and comer what they need to grow. Like, it just, you should not be learning on the job or learning on the fly at Juve. It doesn't make sense.
if
I think
I'll put this out there. Sorry, Lex. If the financials were the opposite, if we were in a position to say, "Oh, we might miss Champions League this year. Let's give him time to grow with this team," completely different. I think the finances really dictate our position here. If it was the other way around, I think we would be a little bit more lenient. Even though it's like, "Hey, winning is the only thing." Blah 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 blah. Everybody's heard those taglines, but the financials just right now just don't allow us to be a training ground for managers.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I just, like, the expectations should not go away. I don't want to see our expectations go away because that's hand in hand with the standards. Like,
Yeah.
you have to respect your tradition. You have to respect your fan base. You have to respect what you're all about. You can't eliminate that. And is this a way of kind of doing that by not, like, we still have strong resources. We
Yes.
still are able to hire coaches with serious CVs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we
I
just
mean,
need to go that
depends
route.
what you want. Like, what do you want? Like, as a club, like, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what's been difficult is that I don't know what the club wants. Like, what do you want for the team? Like, do you want a specific style? Like, of course, you want to win and you want to win trophies, expectations, etc. But or do you want somebody who's going to establish a mentality? Like, a la Napoli bringing in Conte, like that. You know exactly what you're getting with that guy, right? And for better or for worse. So I don't know. I think it just has to do with what does the club want out of
Yeah.
So
this.
you really have three competing storms meeting each other. You got the
Yeah.
financials, you got the club expectations, right, of what you have to do every year, and then you have the expectations on the manager. Okay, Are we going to give you time to build or not? Like those three things, some can mix together, some can't. So, but we want all of them to happen. Well, sometimes you got to sacrifice one for the other, and people, especially the chat here, want to sacrifice none of them.
Yeah,
and that's
it's fickle. It's fickle. Would we have the same opinion of this game if the halves were switched around? Genuinely curious. Yeah, I'd still be pissed because I would have said we wasted the first half. That second half, whether you make it the first half or the second, is garbage and it's unacceptable. Simple answer. Bullshit.
That's a good question. I don't know. Because then we would be like, hey, they Motta got it. He fixed it. He made some changes.
After completely wasting the first half of play and fighting back.
That's a good question. Well, we'll never know.
Garbage.
The second so
I want a mic in the locker room at halftime. Motta consistently ruins the little we have going on every second. His second half, that I've been saying this for a long time, dating back to the beginning of the season, like one half to the next is what, 8 out of 10 times just a miss. Just a miss.
I blame the first thing I thought of afterwards was the orange slices at halftime. He must have given bad orange slices.
Fire Motta and Juntali right now. Okay, I'll do it. I'll be the guy. Let's see. We got Luca in here with one. We discussed this quickly in the AGC chat. Does having Bremer's leadership, Cabal's versatility, and Milik's experience rotation make a difference to this team?
Yes. 1,000%.
Lex.
I'm gonna say yes to the Bremer leadership. I think that's been massive to our back line and why they've been so error prone. But that's probably I'll agree with the 1/3.
Bremer makes a big difference. We would have more points right now. Mm-hmm. We would have similar frustrations, I feel, though, still. But we would have more points. But
I think if we had more points, we'd have different mentality. I think us drawing games is really draining on these players.
Yeah.
I think the more points and the mentality go hand in hand.
I think there's still just this lack of belief with everybody.
It looks like it. And players are mentioning it in their interviews. It does look like it.
Yeah, it's tough. We've got so many Storm the Barns, but you guys, we're dwindling on time. This was actually, I feel a lot better now. Feel a lot better today.
Do you? Oh, you're welcome.
No thanks to you, Skanga. Mostly Lex. Okay. So thanks, Lex. Skanga, smarten up. All right. You guys, look, is what it is.
We move on.
It's got to be better. It has to be better. It's okay to ask for more, to ask for better. We have a lot of question marks around management, ownership, coach, players. We all want this to end and for us to start moving in the right direction. And obviously, it's going to take more time. But whether it's time with the same that are involved right now, we wait and see. In the background, the Agnelli rumors continue to swirl. And 2 to 3 years, he's making his return. I have a feeling he's going to be pushing for a lot sooner. The latest rumor is Agnelli with 51% and then 30-something going to Saudi. And Exor will retain around 10 to 11%. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying, I understand pros and cons for that guy, but whether it's him or not, bring me somebody that actually can instill some type of fucking standards.
Jesus.
Napoli got away from us. Benfica, oh yeah. The worse the record, the better. Bring them on, baby, okay? Let's go. Turnaround game? We haven't said that this year.
Bounce back? Rebound
Except
game?
for like 10 times, all right? Let's see, everybody. Quick turnaround, Champions League, Wednesday, Benfica. I'll bring you the news leading up to it. And then, of course, we'll have a match day live, getting hyped up for that game. Hopefully, they can turn it around, deliver. Let's wait and see what Juve shows up. You guys, though, I don't know. I don't know what to say right now. Motta, just digging that fucking hole.
Figure it out.
Just
Figure it out.
digging that hole. Digging that hole. Let's see. Let's see if he can dig his fucking ass out of there. Okay? Otherwise, hey, Via. And in the words of Papa Gio, for everyone that was wondering yesterday, couldn't get him on the call, he said, you call me when I'm driving. What's the matter with you? Okay, so he was pissed. He went for a cruise. He likes to drive around when he's angry, so he just goes and road rages. That's what he chose to do after the game. Not advised for a man of his age, but and I told him that. He said, for anyone that understands Italian, Motta no è cazzo suo to coach Juventus. Okay, so yeah, I'll leave it at that, and you can figure out what he's essentially trying to say, everybody. But great show. Lex, Skanga, always an absolute pleasure, you two. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend, despite what these goddamn guys put us through. Okay, let's see, hope for better on the turnaround. Ciao tutti. No matter what, fino alla fine, forza Juventus. Ciao, ciao.